What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Bronx Pinstripe Show. First episode of the regular season, Scott. We are recording this prior to the Sunday night baseball game. You know, back in our heyday, we might
Here comes the
record
disclaimer
this.
for being old.
We might record this at 11:30 at night tonight. However, we are washed in the sense of recording late night podcasts. We'll of course make exceptions if there's some sort of like massive event tonight. If Montgomery throws a no, or excuse me, yeah, it's Montgomery tonight, right? Yeah, I'm all over the place.
I'm on vacation. Before you continue, let's tell the people what's going to happen if something happens. If something happens later, we all know Andrew's going to go be asleep at the end because that's what he does. And usually I'm awake. But tonight you're getting vacation, Scott, and you're going to get a nice little vacation drunk ass recap if something does happen of significance, or at least if I find it of significance at that point in my night. So it could be interesting, but it's going to be a fun game. I'm excited to watch it tonight. Actually, timing on Sunday nights usually is an eye roll, but this week, today, I'm excited to watch. So I was able to have a good day with the fam, and now I'm kicking back with some beers. Shout out to the Tampa guys. I'm drinking High Life from Cigar City.
It's good beer.
Very, very drunk in this brewery a couple years ago in Tampa.
Those are sneaky strong, by the way.
Yeah,
they're like 6.5%. They'll
get you.
Sneak up on you.
Yeah, the first one got me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, way more than I was expecting. I drank it a little fast, and that's just proof again. Old man drinking beer.
There was a quick aside. This is like pre-COVID, pre everything. We went to a friend's beach house, and someone was just drinking a beer from Burlington Beer Co., one of my favorite beers up in Vermont. I love Vermont beer in general. And it was an IPA.
A good New England IPA. It's tough to beat. They're very good.
Well, I knew it was a hazy IPA, and the thing about hazy IPAs is they all taste the same, or at least they can all taste the same. And this one, it was very good. But I had it, and I'm like, oh my! The guy gave it to me. It was a tall boy can. I'm like, damn, man, I'm feeling that. He's like, yeah, it's 9.5%. I'm like, what the f are you doing? It is 90 degrees outside. Yeah. I'm gonna die today. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I just pounded like 3 waters after that.
Well, there you go. He thought you were a little bit more of a man. I don't know what to tell you.
And also, let me be clear: I will not be asleep for the end of the game tonight. If I podcast after
the game, you will be asleep.
Yes, because you know this.
The final pitch. Andrew asleep.
If you podcast right after the game, it's tough to fall right asleep.
Yeah, you get amped up. Whether you get even on like the low key podcasts that are just hanging out, there's still a mental ramp up, and it's hard.
Sure.
It's hard to shut it down right afterwards. There's no doubt.
And no matter what, I'm going to be up at 6 a.m. with the kid. So
that's right. There's no extension in the morning.
No sleeping in. But it easily can get hyped up after the first 2 games. I thought, all things considered, obviously they won the games, but so many positive things to talk about.
Yeah.
And
they start with Aaron Boone, to be honest. They do.
Well,
they start with Aaron Boone. They do.
Okay. Well, for his lineup, making lineup. Okay,
yeah.
Fine.
That was the first thing I saw.
The fact that LeMahieu started over Glaber on opening day, love it. LeMahieu has earned that start over Glaber.
Yep.
The fact that Stanton started in the outfield in game 2.
Yep.
Love it.
Do it early. Get it better. It's gonna be. Is this like Gary Sanchez starting on opening day and that was it? I hope not.
Well, it's just obviously I don't even think Hicks needed to play on opening day. I thought they could have put Stanton in the outfield on opening day. Fine. They want to wait till Saturday, till the Saturday game. Fine. Whatever. I'm okay with it. Like I just want Stanton to get out there a few times a week. This team absolutely needs it, and Stanton needs it.
Hey, weekend 1, Stanton in the outfield is a very good thing in my opinion. So definitely. Yeah, I'm ready to go. This was an entire half season last year that we waited until that happened, and it was a terrible first half of the year. So the fact that they're jumping out of the gate, Stanton's clearly pining for it. He's acknowledging that he plays better. It's part of the plan. So I like it. I'm very happy about this. And Boone did a crazy lineup on the first day a little bit, but that lineup's going to change 90.
What do you mean crazy?
Donaldson in the leadoff is just.
Well, he's been. I mean, that's what they're doing. Clearly, I mean,
it's just to me, it's unconventional, but it's fine. Like you could do this lineup 15 different ways, and it would feel fine to me. To be honest,
you want DJ in the leadoff?
Yeah, I love DJ in the leadoff. I think he's the prototypical leadoff. I think they're maybe letting him get his feet under him a bit, and then we'll see. But again, it doesn't matter to me because there are some very good options all around, and I understand that lineups they just look and feel different in today's analytical game, and it's fine. I'm all good with it.
I actually don't hate this. I'm not gonna. If DJ's leading off, I'm fine with it. But DJ hitting in the middle of the order, breaking up the high strikeout hitters, isn't a terrible thing.
No, it's not.
We called for this the last couple seasons. It's like, yeah, LeMahieu's great, but let's get him up there with some guys on base so he can get some base hits with guys on base. So I don't hate it.
It's a good point. No, that's a good point. If we can if Donaldson's OBP is in a place that is respectable in the leadoff spot, like, to me, that's what I'm looking at. If he can work the counts and get that lineup set, for a leadoff guy, I want them to see pitches. This is why Gardner was a good leadoff guy. He worked the count. He gave the guys in the dugout for that first inning a look at the pitcher, a good look at the pitcher. And to me, that's one of those things, those intangibles that you don't ever see in a box score, but is an important factor for a leadoff guy. So if we could do that for Donaldson, you're making a good point with DJ in that what was he, sixth? Was he sixth? Fifth or sixth?
No, he was behind Stanton.
Yeah, so that's great. You're right. Break up the power. Give me a guy that can spray the ball and take advantage for runners on base if the guys before him haven't bopped. Otherwise, guys are bopping before him. You get another leadoff guy in DJ LeMahieu. I don't hate it.
And LeMahieu's not playing in the Sunday night game, and they've actually flipped Rizzo and Judge for some reason tonight. Rizzo's batting second, Judge is hitting third, Stanton and Gallo. I'm not quite sure if that's the plan when DJ's not in the lineup. It doesn't make a huge difference. I mean, Rizzo, so far, the 2 home runs were massive because, especially on opening day, Cole has a rough first inning, and you're like, oh boy, here we go again. Cole, the last time we saw Cole pitch against the Red Sox, he was getting his brains beaten in the wild card game. He had a 5 ERA against them last year. He struggled against premium AL East competition. And opening day, the stadium was half full. Okay, JJ was.
I saw the picture. JJ and
Nick coming from Billy's, like they weren't even close to getting into the stadium. So you weren't even inside the building before it was 3-zip. But boom, Rizzo gets him right back in the game. That's massive. I know it's a different circumstance, but like the same thing with that why that Didi home run in the wild card game back in 2017. You get it back immediately. It's a momentum changer, and the team isn't just back on their heels, and I think that's just massive.
It's a different moment, but at the same time, it's opening day, so it's a big moment. But it's still a big moment in the season. If this was Game 5, it would be a different story.
But it also gives Cole a chance to be like, okay, like now I just settled in, and we're in this game.
Yeah, because he should be embarrassed for that first inning, to be honest. And if all this the Twitter police are correct, and I saw this correctly, that he was bitching and complaining about the
Billy Crystal.
5 minutes or 6 minute extension, like
he was pissed at Billy Crystal.
If you're crying that the game is not starting on time, and then he references it in the post game as one of the reasons. Come on, you are not that soft. You cannot be that soft. I'm going to give you a pass here. Tighten up. That is some bullshit. Roll with the punches. And first of all, if it bothers you, don't tell the media after the game that bothered you.
Right, because now that's other teams can play some mind games.
I'm effing with him in the first inning if I'm on the other
step
team.
Out of the box a few times. Sorry, grounds crew's got to go out there and rake the mound one more time before Cole can take it.
Normally, you'd think that would just piss Cole off to a point. I guess it depends on who the agitator is, but if it's Billy Crystal, he just gets frustrated in his own head. But if it's the other team, the risk is that you're pissing Garrett Cole off and he's going to shove it down your throat, but he didn't in that first inning. But, c'est la vie. It was not a good start, but Rizzo came in. And again, full season Rizzo, love that. Love full season Rizzo.
If you're going to be the opening day starter, you've got to deal with that stuff. If you're opening day starter, playoff game one starter, you have to deal with the pomp and circumstance of what that comes with. Your routine is going to be thrown off a little bit. You can't let that bother you.
No, not at all. And it did. It clearly did because he settled down.
He did settle in, and his fastball was all over the place early. He was going to his slider so much more than we're used to seeing Cole, because Cole usually just rear up, throw 98 at the letters, just blow it past guys, and he wasn't able to do that. He wasn't locating. I think Devers is the scariest bat in that lineup, especially at Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, he is.
He's a monster.
Especially against the Yankees, man. He's just been he's crushed us. Devers is absolutely a Manny killer. Look, back to Cole quickly. This fastball control thing, like I understand he settled back in, but this fastball control thing it's really a worrisome thing because it's all post spider tack, sticky stuff. Yeah, when he has a good grip on the ball, that fastball is dotted. And it's just so important for him because if he doesn't locate that fastball and control the strike zone early, sorry for the boonisms, but if he doesn't, then he can't work off the rest of his pitches. It's such an important piece of his game that I hope it was just some flusters or whatever and let's shake it off. But that's what we saw last year. We saw him not throwing that fastball over the plate, and he couldn't command the count or the at-bat, and he fell behind, and then the fastball's hittable. That's when the ball flies out of the park. When he's not ahead early and controlling the at-bat, that's why you see the high home run totals. It's those little blemishes, but it's just been happening a hell of a lot more often.
And that's what you're going to get on April starts when it's 50 degrees outside and October starts when it's 50 degrees outside. Yeah, he might be able to grip the ball fine in July when it's 95 degrees, but in these early and late starts, it's going to be a problem without the spider tack. Yeah, absolutely. It was also, I think a lot of people, and I do say this is fair, both with him and Severino, they're on pitch counts. This is like,
sure.
This is like a
shortened spring. I understand it.
Training.
I'm not getting too worked up about this at all, and thankfully Rizzo silenced the Red Sox a bit, and the Yankees got back in the game, and they obviously won the game. So all is forgiven at this point, but it's something of note, something I'm keeping an eye on for sure.
The bullpen was just lights out in both games. Both times saved the game for the Yankees because they had to pitch deep in the game, and then even in game one, obviously you got to go 2 extra innings. How's my Swiss Army knife looking so far?
Hey, you're up on your early game predictions. Obviously, IKF in that first or in the second game didn't. I mean, neither game has he done anything with the bat, but which is not helpful. Not helpful for my 200 hit bold prediction.
Still got
but the glove, bro. What are we doing? What are we doing with the glove?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Let's go, kid. You make that ball up the middle. You stay down on it. Actually pick the ball up and then make the throw.
That's an easy play. He didn't get charged with the error, but come on, what are we doing?
Yeah.
If that's not an error,
it's a play he should make every time.
And he had the throwing error too, and people freaking out like, "Oh, Yankees cheaped out on a shortstop. I'm done with this guy." Like, everyone chill out.
Yeah.
However,
a lot of pressure for him too, man. Like, the whole growing up as a Yankee fan thing it affects the players sometimes too. And I know it hasn't been lauded over like it was with Cole and the sign, but the guy had jitters. Anytime you start opening day as the Yankees shortstop in the Bronx, like that's a big deal.
And it's not like he has to go out there and go 3 for 4, but just make the plays. Like, that's the thing. You make the plays that you're supposed to make because that's why you're here. That's why a lot of fans think you're here. Good defense. And then that's the thing they see you not doing early on.
Yeah.
And that can snowball. I'm not saying it's going to snowball, but like he just make the plays and then let the bat warm up with time. But if he just went 0 for in the first 2 games and made every play, no one would be talking about IKF. But the fact that he made 2 bad plays in the field and it cost the Yankees immediately because Severino gives up the 2-run jack to Verdugo 2 batters later, you're like, okay, what's this guy here for? And then immediately the overreaction crew goes to could have had Correa, could have had Seager, could have had Story, could have had this guy.
Shut up.
So
first couple games, this kid. What was the high total? I think 173. He's had a 173 hit season. It's gonna be fine. 200's not that far off.
I don't care about his bat right now.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Of course it's annoying that he made the 2 bad plays in the field because again, he's primarily here to secure the shortstop position defensively. Yes. And whatever you get out of his bat at the bottom of the order, it's gravy. So just make the plays and be a plus defender at shortstop.
I do like him in the 9 spot, though. Reset that lineup again, and now you have Donaldson in the 2 spot on the way back. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, the lineup has more versatility than it's had in the last 2-3 years.
And that's exciting.
There's no doubt about it.
That's fun. And it does, what it does help is these bullshit ghost man games. It does. When you have more bat to ball.
Because they actually scored. They scored those runners.
Yeah. When you have more bat to ball up and down the lineup, in different spots, then you have an opportunity then no matter where you are in the lineup to at least move the guy over to hit a fly ball too. So it does play for that.
I think more Yankees fans would be on board with the ghost runner if the Yankees weren't just so god-awful the past 2 years with the runner on second base.
Let me tell you something that drives me nuts. First of all, the rule drives me nuts. I hate it. Get rid of it, which seems like it's happening, right? But the other thing, why do we call it a ghost runner? Why do we call it there's a runner out there. Okay? There's a runner out there.
They call it?
The ghost runner is when you're playing one-on-one wiffle ball in the backyard and you hit a double on the roof because that's what a double is. And there's a ghost man on second. And you got to force him in.
Yeah.
I mean,
You're
that's
right.
what it goes
It's
for.
fair,
It drives me
fair.
nuts. I'm like sitting here every time. Like, I hate the rule, and we're mislabeling it.
That's a legitimate thing to be angry about.
It's a
I don't
gripe.
think you should be angry about the rule because again, I'm on record that I like the rule, but call it something other than the Ghost Runner.
Call it, yeah, it's an automatic runner is what it is.
Automatic runner, yeah. I mean, I know it's likely going away in the future, but also I see players and I actually see front offices wanting to keep it because it does end the extra inning games quicker. And I know you might think, oh, how many times does it go 13, 14, 15 innings? I know it doesn't happen
It's
often.
still faster.
But when it does, it wrecks your pitching staff for the week. If you have a 15-inning game, your pitching staff is effed for the next 6 days. So I could see teams being on board with this rule just to avoid those 2 or 3 times a year that it might pop up.
Yeah. All right. No. Move forward. Move forward.
I haven't convinced you
It is
yet.
it is a co-ed softball rule. But next.
What do you think of Severino's first start back since the ALCS in 19?
Okay, so I was in and out of this game as my life was transpiring down here.
Vacation Scott.
I'm in Vacation Scott World. I'm in Vero Beach, Florida, by the way.
You need to get some pastels or something.
I've
You
t-
got to
I
get
hid
some
them.
bright yellow shirts or something.
There's some pink flowers over here that I removed from the situation. But I used to come down here as a kid all the time. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but they used to have Dodger spring training here, and Dodger facility was their I think it was their low A ball, Vero Beach Dodgers. So as a kid, used to come down here on spring break, and then for a lot of the summers, my great aunt and uncle used to live here. So it's fun to be here. What were we just talking about?
Severino's start
Severino.
back. So I
saw the
obviously
first
he had
inning. Real quick, I saw the first inning. Looked strong. I loved it. He commanded it. The fastball was popping. Like it looked like he had a couple calls from the ump that were generous, but there were he was popping the glove, man.
That ump on Saturday was a nightmare.
Yeah.
No consistency from inning to inning. And again, I don't care if the ump is making calls off the plate, but just be consistent about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, he looked strong, and even the circumstances of the home run, clearly, he could have been out of it. But at the same time, don't give up the home run. It is what it is. He's working through these things. What was he at? 60 pitches? I know you had a gripe with him coming back out.
So the long second inning when Verdugo hit the home run, it really drove up his pitch count. And multiple times on the broadcast, they talked about how he's only going to throw 65 to 70 pitches. Okay, so he comes out in the was it the fourth inning? I think it was the fourth inning. He comes out at 62 pitches, facing Verdugo as the leadoff hitter who hit the home run off of him. What are you doing? You're trying to steal. You're trying to get cute. You're trying to get a quick ground ball or something like that. And then you're going to pull him. It was one batter he was going to pull him because they weren't going to go over 70 pitches.
Look,
so I don't understand what's the upside to bringing him out to face Verdugo, who got a hit, and then you go to the bullpen. Just call it at 62 pitches. If he's at 57 pitches, fine. But 62 pitches, 65 pitches, it's the same thing. And if you're really, really worried about him just getting work in, send him in the tunnel to throw 7 more pitches.
Well, that's it. So fine, but as you say many, many times, it's not the same. It's not the same type of exertion. And for him to come back out, I think this is a product of a shortened spring early in the season. Severino working back. They want to keep him as regular as possible, and they need to build him up. So him coming out after a layoff in the dugout from the inning over, getting his warm-up pitches, starting that inning, getting that first out, that's part of the routine that he's got to build back up to. So that's why I don't mind it.
But how far are you willing to take it?
But hold on, if this happened in August and he was stretched out like normal, and you're going over and you know the number you're going to keep him at, like you keep him down there and you go to your bullpen at that point. But I just don't think this is still working guys up. That's why I'm fine with it today.
He threw 3 pitches. Okay.
Yeah, he got the out. That's what it was.
He didn't get the out.
The first pitcher. I mean, the first batter. He went to the first batter.
Right. But so how
he
far
didn't get the out, but he was going through the first batter no matter what, is what I meant. So it was 3 pitches. That's fine. It could have been 7. Could have been 8. Could have been 5.
Yeah, I just think you are trying to win games. Also, it's not like you're trying to get him 10 more pitches. You're trying to get him 3 more pitches.
No,
that's
I think
not
it was
enough
more about
for
the
me.
process and him going out. That's what I think it was.
That's not. That's less important to me than actually trying to win the game or putting your bullpen in a bad spot, which they did, and Marinaccio ended up coming in, struggling a bit. I mean, this kid's making his debut. You're putting him in a bad spot with a runner on. It's like, okay, let's just throw him to the wolves.
I think you're overanalyzing it for the first weekend, to be honest. If this is later in the season, I hear you. The situation called for something different. I understand that, but I think that given the first week of the season and they're doing things a little differently, that was why things transpired.
Maybe I would be overanalyzing it if we didn't have 3 years of evidence of Boone trying to steal.
No, that is exactly why you are overanalyzing it. So,
well.
That is the reason why you're overanalyzing.
I think that Severino, all things considered, his stuff looked pretty good.
Yeah, he did. He looked strong.
98. I think he touched 99 with the fastball, which is good. It was a good first start for someone who hasn't started in the major leagues in 3 seasons.
The number of days that they said was crazy. It was 400 and some, I think. It was it's pretty.
It wasn't just that; it's 18 innings since 2019. It's like he's barely touched the mound since
I'm excited,
2019.
Because I called him earlier. We didn't do the X factors on the podcast. I said this randomly on Twitter, I think it was, but we missed that part. We didn't do the X factor. The X factor for me is Luis Severino, because if Severino,
that's an easy.
It's an easy one, but it's very true, isn't it? Isn't it so true?
Of course.
Because if he comes out as that number 2 guy, I know in my bold predictions I put Taillon as there. That was, maybe that was like the anti-jinx for me and my head justification, because I want Severino. I want to be wrong on that. I want Severino to be that number 2 guy, because if he's a number 1 and a number 2, or a number 2 in a number 1's body, then, we are in a very good place. If you have 2 number 1 starters going into the playoffs, and the lineup that we have right now with the consistency, the way that they mix it up, the power, the hits, look, that's a dangerous team. And if you have 2 starters like that who are rolling and are number 1 quality with this lineup, yeah, this team could win a World Series if they were going that way. That's so important.
The reason he's obviously the X factor, and the difference between Severino and Taillon or Montgomery or Nestor Cortez or whoever else you want to name, is Luis Severino has pitched like a number 1 pitcher on the Yankees before.
Yeah.
Jamison Taillon has never done that. Montgomery has never done that. We don't know if they can do that. Sure, they can have lights out stuff from game to game. They can be great. They can be great on any given moment. But are we really calling Jamison Taillon, if he has a good season? Are we really like, oh, yep, he's a 1A?
That's the thing. No, see, there's a feel factor here. There's a feel factor here. We talked about this a long time ago, and how you have like a soft spot for that ace and like the whole word ace and all that. You need a hoss. You need a guy who can go in there like
you know it when you see it.
Yes, true. It's very true. Jamison Taillon is not an ace. Jamison Taillon is a nice pitcher. He's like a 3, and if he has a good year, he's a 2. But he's never really a 1. Let's all be honest. You got to hit 9. You got to hit like 99. Like ramp it up. Put a little bit of a fear in people. I know there are some alternates that do not raise the gun like that, and you still call an ace. But a guy like Severino, who absolutely, it's just such natural velo and the action out of his fingertips. He's got the dominant gene as a pitcher does. So
we've seen it with our own eyes.
It feels different with him.
We saw it with our own 2 eyes.
For sure.
17 and 18, we saw. And 18, he looked like he was going to be a top 5 pitcher in the league for a little while. So he's done it before. I know he's had his struggles in the postseason. But if Severino has a really good year, you like him going into a game 2 in a series.
Hell yeah,
you have to. You like it a hell of a lot more than Montgomery and a hell of a lot more than Taillon, no matter how good they're going to pitch this year.
Yeah, and to be honest, if both of them had good. I think if both of them had the same season, I would feel better with Montgomery going into that playoff. Maybe that's just because I know him a little bit more. But the fact that he mixes it up as he does, I would feel better about Montgomery over Taillon. So now we're at Taillon as a 4.
What are we even talking about? Like Taillon, I still haven't seen him pitch enough to know even what.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because his season last year was so wildly inconsistent. He was just getting his feet wet in the first couple months of the season. Then he had that nice stretch, and then he got injured. So it's like, I don't know what Jamison Taillon is yet. I still need to see a lot more innings out of him to make a decision.
I'm excited to see it, though. Excited to see it.
Sure.
And that's the difference this year. There's a lot of excitement around the corner. Isn't there?
It's because, do you know why? It's because it's different. It might turn out to not be any better. The pitching
staff is really not that different. I guess, Severino is old but new.
The team is different. Just the team is different.
Yeah, the team.
Okay?
The team is
and the fact that they came back in game 1 and won it in extra innings, they did things in that extra innings that they haven't done the last 2 years. And that Gleyber Torres pinch hit at bat, sac fly, was massive for him. I tweeted this out, and I was joking, but I also wasn't joking. I actually do believe this. I said this at bat could make or break Gleyber Torres this season. And I say that
you were joking because it's early, but you weren't joking because you know he's mentally soft.
Yes. And don't you agree with me? If he grounds into a double play there and ends the game with the bases loaded, he turtles, okay? He goes back into his shell because he didn't get the start, which already is something like, oh, here we go. Gleyber Torres is not starting, so he's already probably, whining on the bench. There was this report before the game. Report before the game said he didn't take batting practice before the game. So it's like,
that's
okay,
a crybaby move you're saying? That's a pouting move?
Is he pouting or something like that? But he comes up, he gets down in the count, and he doesn't give up. He just tried to make contact and get the ball in the air, and he did it, and they tie the game.
That's how you hit 38 home runs.
That's a massive moment for him. That's a massive moment for him.
Look, okay, fine. You're probably over dramatizing it a bit, but at the same time, I understand what you're saying. The premise is there. The reason you're saying that is because you've seen the head games play to him in a negative way. So a guy like that comes up, and look, 38 home runs, in my opinion, happen naturally. They happen when you have an approach like that because you're hitting the ball, you're squaring it up, and it's going out. It's when you start, dipping down and trying to go Starlin Castro one knee on a ball at every at bat, and now you're having problems hitting the ball out of the park because you're thinking about it too damn much. You hit line drives in the middle of the field, and the ball's going to go out a lot, and that's where Gleyber's at his best. So if he's working good counts this year, then we're in for a damn good season for Gleyber Torres, and that's another dynamic guy that could make this team so much. There are a lot of opportunities where this team becomes like, you feel good about them competing to like right there with the best teams in the AL because of the potential with some of the guys that haven't really realized it in a couple years.
It was a mature at bat. He was down in the count, and instead of trying to hit the grand slam, that's right, he's a father now. Even though every Yankee on TikTok was like, I don't want Gleyber watching my kid. He plays too many video games. It was a mature at bat. He was down 2 strikes, and he didn't try to hit a grand slam. He just tried to hit a sac fly. And last year, he tries to swing out of his shoes, and he swings and misses, or he grounds out, or he pops up or something.
The other thing you were talking about before we started recording here, again, I missed a couple minutes of that second game, but there was a mound visit from Rizzo and
to
Donaldson.
Marinaccio, yeah. So after the whole thing of Boone sending Sevy back out there, Marinaccio comes in. He can't find the strike zone. Then the infield comes together, and Rizzo calms him down. Like there's video on Twitter, you could just see he calms him down, and he gets out of the inning from there. And that's something Rizzo just. I know we talked about this last year when he came over. He's a veteran. He's won a championship.
He's a calming presence is what he is.
He was seen as a leader on the Cubs. Yeah. And I think in a very short time last year, he established himself as a leader on the Yankees. And of course it helps when you're like, oh yeah, I just hit 2 massive home runs to get us back in the game. But also
but that's just who he is too.
He's saving balls from bad throws at first base, plays that Luke Voit or any other first baseman the Yankees have had in recent memory.
It's so important having a
don't
good
even
defensive
come
first
close
baseman.
to making. Right, so like he's saved 2 throwing errors over the weekend.
Yeah.
He hit 2 massive home runs to get him back in the game.
Loved it. That first one he was going nuts.
He calmed a young pitcher down. So it's just like those sorts of little things.
Doesn't pick that shit up. Look, this is where all the nerds need to watch the game and be like, oh yeah, that's the type of shit that doesn't show up in the box score. Because it's right. When you have the balance of a lineup like this with these veteran guys, some young guys, some guys that are new to the team, maybe not veterans, but you have a balance of the personalities on the team. It's so important. It's one of these intangible things that, again, you will never find in a box score for the duration of your life. But when you watch the game and you see things like that with Rizzo going over there, calming a kid down in his first major league pitching moment in Yankee Stadium, opening weekend against the Boston Red Sox, there's a lot of emotions going there, a lot of things happening. And a guy like Anthony Rizzo understanding that, Josh Donaldson walking up, understanding that, and be like, kid, you made it. You're here. Let's go. That just simple words, whatever they are. I love it. And that type of thing is just a very good sign for me. I get chills when I think about that stuff because that's, to me, baseball in a nutshell. And when you have that veteran presence that can layer on top of the unbelievable talent at young kids, like that's what gets you shit going. And that's how you get the makeup of a very good team. So early days of this, but I like the juju so far.
Last year, it was Roogie Odor coming into comp pitchers
Right.
down.
Now it's Rizzo.
Someone were like, dude, like Texas is paying you to be here. Like, shut up. Go back to second base.
Yeah, like I appreciate it because no one else is coming, so thank you. Like I get it, I do appreciate it. But Anthony Rizzo coming over there with a dad hug, just saying, "Kid, you got this," hits differently.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, one guy we didn't talk about, just flying under the radar, but just continues to murder the Red Sox is Stanton. I think it's 7 games in a row with a homer off of the Red Sox, and the
Huge
one on
home runs.
Saturday. The one on Saturday was destroyed.
Yeah.
And when he you could just tell when he like it's the swing, you blink and you miss it. It's so short when he really is clicking. It's just such a short, quick, violent yet elegant swing.
Yeah.
And the ball just
I wouldn't call that swing elegant. He does not have an elegant swing.
it is. He's chopping wood.
I
up
would
there.
never
But you know
describe
what?
Giancarlo Stanton's swing as elegant.
Right, because like Ken Griffey Jr. elegant.
I would
swing.
say even Judge has a hell of a lot more of an elegant swing.
It's violent,
Yeah, he chops
but I
wood.
liked it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Cut your head off.
Yeah,
No,
and he's been murdering the Red Sox and playing the outfield. So if he's playing, I don't know how often he's going to play the outfield. My dream is 3 games a week for him.
That's fair. Look, man, you look back at that, that guy, how he's handled himself in the Bronx, and he's had some ups and downs, but my God, he's been very good since being here. And when he's on, he's one of the scariest hitters in Major League Baseball. And he's not slowing down. The guy takes so much pride in his work. You can really tell that. And yeah, he's been awesome. And the fact that he murders the Red Sox is even better.
Yeah. And so obviously we're very positive after the first couple games,
And that's why we haven't talked about a Judge extension or lack of yet. You start with some positivity on this goddamn show, and I love it. And that was Andrew's decision, and I'm proud of you for that.
everything that happened on the baseball field was cool. I loved what happened on the baseball field. It's what happened off the baseball field 2 hours prior to opening day.
Yeah.
Is that wasn't so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got to pause. 32-27.
You saw Julio's tweet? That was funny. Talking about the Judge extension, your tweet and my tweet in the timeline.
Oh, yeah,
right
yeah.
next to each other.
So at 11:15 in the morning, prior to a 1:08 first pitch on opening day, Brian Cashman has a press conference announcing the Yankees could not reach an extension with Aaron Judge, and then specifies the terms that they offered him, and he declined.
Yeah.
Which I know people were saying, like me and some other people were making too big of a deal out of that. I figured the Yankees would just leak what they offered him through their media sources, and then it's a reporter putting out what they offered Judge. But for Cashman, the general manager, to be like, he turned down a 7-year, $213.5 million contract.
It was intentional. Yeah, that's true.
Intentional. It would have been $30.5 million AAV on the extension, which is the highest outfielder other than Mike Trout. $100,000.
Right fielder. Yeah, look at that right field contract. I called this out in our group chat the other day, when I was processing it a little bit more. I was like, what was Mookie's contract? Because I bet he wanted to beat Mookie's contract.
Mookie's contract is very conveniently.
Cashman wanted to beat Mookie's contract, and I guarantee he pointed at that.
Very conveniently, 30.4
Yeah,
AAV.
exactly.
And here we have Judge, 30.5 AAV.
Who are they playing this week? Yeah.
and you know, I was actually very surprised that the Yankees went to a 7-year extension, not starting this year, so starting next year. So it would be 8 more years, including this year. I was surprised they offered him a 7-year extension, and I was surprised Judge turned down a 7-year extension, because I thought that was the absolute max they would give and he would get. And here we are. He declined it. He clearly thinks his value is greater than that. There were reports that he wants an 8 or a 9-year extension at $36 million AAV. He's comparing himself to the Mike Trout AAV, not necessarily the years, but I think extending through the ages. His agent and the Judge think that's where their value is. And, you know, I don't think they're right. I don't think he's going to get that on the free agent market, no matter how good of a season he has, because he is, at the end of the day, still an injury.
You don't think he'll get the AAV?
He might get the AAV. I don't think he's going to get 8 or 9 years.
Look, the whole thing, one, it's just disappointing. That's the first thing I think of is just disappointment. And the fact that they handled it so poorly, they really did. The fact that they let it go as long as they did, understanding that Judge was very vocal and talking about this opening day deadline, and they went up to the deadline literally 2 hours before the goddamn game.
They waited until what would have been the day after opening day, because if not for the rain out, what are we doing here? It's like they waited until Friday. They
probably would have announced it again, like it's, you do your homework before the due date. So they would have done it the same day. They would have ramped up discussions then. But why are you doing that? You're setting yourself up for just a potential bad, weird situation, which is exactly what happened. Because right before opening day, one of the best feelings of the year for any baseball fan, period. Opening day is like New Year's Day, and you call an announcement after the heavyweight belt is on his locker, and you're saying we didn't come to a conclusion. It's bad business. It's a bad way to do that. It's a bad way to handle the situation. You put yourself in the situation by negotiating up to the deadline instead of actually, making concerted efforts to get there a week before it. Would that have been such a big deal if they did this a week before, understood where they were at this time, and then had this discussion? Because
Crazy.
That would have helped everybody else out. And maybe it would have given them another week to actually find a middle ground to get there. But now Judge is like, you know what? I'm not worried about it. I'll talk to every team. I think he mentioned I'll talk to 30 teams.
Yeah, his quote was, at the end of the year, I'll be a free agent. I'll get to talk to 30 teams. The Yankees will be one of those teams.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cold
statement. Pretty cold. And it was a fair offer. It was a fair offer.
It was a fair offer. I'm surprised that didn't get it done. And I think maybe the Yankees are surprised it didn't get it done. And I think maybe that's why Carlos Beltran let the beans spill that a deal was going to get done. Maybe I'm just reading too far into it, but if he knows,
he definitely did.
But like if the Yankees were willing to go to the 7 years, if you told me a month ago the Yankees are willing to go to a 7-year extension with Judge, I'd be like, no problem. Okay, he's a Yankee. There's no way he's turning that down.
Dude, I'm telling you, I keep bringing this word up on the podcast here, but the word precedent is so very important in the world of baseball, because there is a precedent. And, I understand that he's not the same age as Mookie when he signed that contract, but what is the end age of Mookie when he signed that contract? 39, right? And he wanted what? 8-9-year deal. That 8-9-year deal is what they said, because he wants that. He wants what the other guy got, which I understand. I get it. If you want, but what if they probably could have found a middle ground, 32, 33 in there, and you go to that.
It's got to be the years. I don't
that's
think
it.
If the Yankees are willing to go to 30 and a half,
deal.
The Yankees are willing to go to $30.5 million. I don't see them being like, no, we're not going to 36.
No, it's
if
the years.
Judge would take, I know it's the year. So if Judge would take 7 at 36, I think the Yankees would give him that. But Mookie Betts was more accomplished when he signed the contract than Aaron. Yes, he won an MVP. He won an MVP in a World Series.
I'm not looking at that, because Aaron Judge could have won an MVP. Should have won an MVP.
Okay, but also
arbitrary.
Mookie Betts has been much healthier than Aaron Judge.
But look, at the end of the day, when you're Aaron Judge and that agent, what are you looking at? I'm looking at a 37-year-old Aaron Judge and a 39-year-old Mookie Betts. Neither one of those guys at 37 are getting a new contract. So what I'm looking at is one guy has $60 million more than the other guy. That's what I look at the end of the day. That's what I look at. And that's my precedent. That's my mark.
I get it. This is a weird instance where I don't know who to blame. I get what Judge and his agent are doing.
Let me tell you who you blame. It's pissing me off even more as we're talking about this. Is the negotiator. So if it's Brian Cashman directly negotiating with the agent, if that's what's happening, then shame on him for not getting to a point earlier, unless the Yankees are frankly just saying no. But get to the goddamn point. Understand where they are.
3 weeks ago.
And
we knew this was coming up.
Know where you need to make a deal.
What are you waiting for?
Yes. Understand where you need to make a deal. Get to a point where you can actually make an offer that you believe will be accepted. Because at that point, they had to have known that deal was not going to get accepted. They put the press conference out there and they made it known, as you did.
I'm shocked they did that press conference. Like, really, I am shocked. That, I think, is the beginning of the Yankees trying to start the narrative that we did everything we can. We made Judge a fair offer. Now here fans go turn against him. What else is that press conference there to do?
They're explaining the situation clearly. It was going to get leaked out. You made a good point in the fact that they had to say it. They were controlling the narrative at that point because that number was going to be leaked. So if it's said by
Of course it was going to
Brian
be
Hoker,
leaked.
Lindsey Adler, or whomever tweets it out, then okay, that's the media doing it. But they didn't want that. They
That's
wanted
different.
to say, I know, hold on. They wanted to say that we offered this and it was declined.
Exactly.
That was the
exactly.
narrative.
They wanted to be the first ones to say this is what we offered, and he rejected it, which is different than we just couldn't reach an agreement.
Yeah.
I don't know what this means for.
But that
Judge
doesn't
and
help me
Shoot.
land
I have one
an
more
extension
thought on
for Aaron Judge. It doesn't help me land an extension for Aaron Judge. So I don't care about the emotions here, and that's the problem where I think the Yankees put way too much fucking stock in this. They put so much stock in trying to control the way that the fans think on both sides of the ball. Just execute.
But
Just
they know if
execute.
they don't get a deal done with Judge, that's going to be.
Then
fans
get
are
the
gonna be
deal
super
done.
pissed off.
Don't prep for the bullshit statement that nobody
Get the
cares
deal
about.
done. Are you saying here blank check 9 years? Like because this is why I'm torn. Because while I understand where Judge is coming from and he's comparing himself to these other players that have already signed contracts, I get why the Yankees don't want to go past 7 years with Judge. I didn't think they were even going to go past 6 years with him. It's a risk. If you're telling me Aaron Judge is going to be making $30+ million when he's 37, 38, and 39, that's going to be a hindrance to the team. There's no two ways about it.
I mean, Giancarlo Stanton's going to be, and he's doing there again. There's a
I know.
precedent for guys getting paid that
you're
long.
gonna you have one of those guys already. Now you're gonna add another one. Also, Giancarlo's gonna make $22 million out of the Yankees.
It doesn't matter. That it has. It's because the things have changed.
I think that does matter.
No,
when
it doesn't. It's because you can't
14
compare it to
more
that. It's an
million
older
dollars.
contract. It's an older contract. It's that again. Precedent has changed. It's different. It's
Oh,
different.
I thought
from
you were
that
talking
contract.
about that the Yankees didn't want to get. I don't think the Yankees want to get themselves in another Giancarlo Stanton contract.
But the Yankees, with Aaron Judge, the face of their this is the face of their franchise we're talking about. This is the
Then
next.
why
If he
didn't
wins a
they
couple
go 8 or
championships, he's
9
Derek
years?
Jeter.
Why didn't they go 8 or 9 years then?
That's exactly my question. If we knew that was the case to get the deal done, you do it. It changed. Guess what? The market has changed. You're the New York Yankees. This is your franchise guy, undisputed. You named a goddamn place in the stadium for him. Get the deal done. Get the deal done. But here's what they didn't do,
That could
or
be
they
Stanton's
chose
corner
not to.
so quickly.
They didn't either get themselves in a position to get the deal done in time, which is a flaw.
That's annoying. That's the annoying part.
Or they did, and they chose not to go that way.
You know, Judge saying all spring, I want to get a deal done before opening day because I don't want to be a distraction.
Don't give yourself the day before, the day of.
Right. Like, that was a massive distraction this week.
Yes.
And so
They had to talk about it before the game. They had to acknowledge that they
had to
were
hold
going
a
to talk
press
about
conference
it.
2 hours before first pitch to talk about it. Okay, it was a distraction. If Judge and the team really didn't want it to be a distraction, this deal gets done on March 29th.
Correct.
Not
So-
opening day.
So if
Actually, the day after opening day.
if there was early dispute in these conversations and they just kind of kicked the can down the road a bit, I don't know. If they all realized that this deal wasn't going to get done ahead of time, I don't know, which is surprising to me because they waited this long. I feel like if they knew that, they would have announced it well before. But again, sometimes the way that Yankees and their PR and the way they handle things doesn't make a lot of sense.
What do you think this means for Judge going forward? Because I don't see what is going to change this year. Assuming Judge is healthy and has another good year, what's going to change with the Yankees offer? The only thing, the Yankees are hoping he spends 70 days on the IL and then they can lowball him. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, but we have to win a World Series now, so they're not hopefully looking for that. At the same time, he's just gonna, again, this is what I talked about before. Like I feel like now we're gonna lose him because I think someone's gonna overpay for him. And that's the thing. If it's in a desirable location where he wants to go, and if that's the West Coast, and someone pays what he wants or overpays him or beats the Yankees, I think he's gone. I think that's the reality now. Now you let him out the door, and he's gonna talk, and maybe those conversations will go in a place that hits a nerve, and he's gone, and they pay.
So I know we as fans like to romanticize the whole.
And then
Judge
IKF
wants-
is the new guy that we're all looking at as the new shortstop. Or Volpe is the new guy if IKF doesn't work out. Imagine that.
Juan Soto. Yankees are going to pay Juan Soto. I know we want to romanticize the fact like Judge wants to be a Yankee for life and like dream up that whole thing. But really, what's more important to Judge, being a Yankee for life or getting the most money he possibly can? Like, let's not kid ourselves. And I'm not.
There was a quote about
Judge
that from Freddie Freeman. There was a Freddie Freeman, or someone made it about the whole Freddie Freeman thing. They're like, there's no loyalty here.
Rizzo said about
Yeah,
Freddie
that's what it
Freeman,
was.
look at Freddie Freeman, there's no loyalty in sports. And Rizzo probably feels that way with the Cubs. I don't blame Judge for wanting to get the most money possible. I also don't blame the Yankees for their offer. It's not like they offered him a 5-year extension. They offered him what I think is a pretty competitive.
It was a fair offer. It was definitely a fair offer. But the problem is, fair offer or not to the public, the negotiations probably told you that wasn't going to get it done. And if the negotiations didn't tell you that wasn't going to get it done, then you didn't do a very good job talking to the agent. And that's a problem. To me, that's a business issue that I have with these guys. And that is a real thing that affects what's happening on the field. And if that's where we lost it, did we lose it in the business room? Then I got a bigger problem with that. And, heads roll with that type of shit. I got no tolerance for that.
We do have a few voicemail reactions that we're going to play at the end of this. Voicemail reactions to the Judge non-extension right before opening day. So definitely stay tuned for those.
Voicemails, by the way, bringing them back for Monday shows. We're going all the way back. This is one of my favorite features of the podcast. Hearing you guys call in. So please save the number on your phone so that you can hit it whenever and you don't need to think of it in that moment. That's when the best calls happen. Need you highly emotional, either happy or sad or mad. I don't care. We don't filter them. We just give the good ones. 646-480-0342.
Yeah, you nailed it. And is there still a British woman that picks up the phone? Because
I don't know. Does it still record things? And
I haven't called the voicemail in quite some time, but there was an automated British voice, and it did throw some people. They're like, I think I have the wrong number. Nope, that's our British woman. She's just picking up the phone.
She's very good at her
job. So last episode, we made a couple picks using WinBet app and all the future odds on MVP, Cy Young, World Series matchups, and all that sort of stuff. If you want to download the WinBet app, you can today, and you receive a special offer. You can bet $10 and win $200 if you download the WinBet app or visit winbet.com to start winning. Use code BLUEWIRE when you do sign up with that app. Today, though, we're going to be looking ahead to the Blue Jays series. Doesn't get any easier for the Yankees right after the Red Sox, another team that many people are projecting to win the division. Blue Jays come into town. And I think, just looking at the pitching matchups, we pulled some numbers here. If you're going to bet on a game this week, I think you're going to bet on Tuesday's game. So the first game, Monday, is Taillon versus Manoah. Game 2, Nasty Nestor Cortez versus Kikuchi. You remember our boy Kikuchi? He had like the globs of pine tar under his hat. He's had his history against the Yankees, but the Yankees have actually hit him pretty good. The last time they faced him when he was with Seattle, they had 8 hits in 5 innings and 5 runs scored off of Kikuchi, and a few of the Yankees have had some good numbers. DJ is 3 for 9 with 3 walks. Glaber's 5 for 11 with a double. Judge is 2 for 7. Both of them have left the park. Gallo's 2 for 7. Of course, he's hit a home run. I don't think he gets singles or doubles or triples against anyone.
No, he struck out 4 times and hit a home run. Yeah.
And IKF is 3 for 7. And on the flip side, Nestor Cortez has held down the powerful Blue Jays. Last time out in September, 6 innings, 6 hits, 2 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts, just mixing and matching, kicking left and right, off-balanced, sidearm, underhand. Who the hell knows what angle it's coming from out of Nestor's arm, but he just gets some soft contact, and I think that's his game.
Hey, and it's a good game to combat that team that just destroys fastballs anywhere around the plate. So I think that Nestor Cortez does have the type of kryptonite that drives those young hitters who are fastball fiends on that Toronto team, drives them nuts. And when you talk, if you listen to our Blue Jays episode, I talked to Arden Zwelling, our guy, talking about Kikuchi. Kikuchi had a really terrible second half as well with Seattle, but the Blue Jays believe that they saw something where they can bottle up what the first half was, because he had a very good first half, but like an all-time bad second half, which is you're referencing was part of it, because the Yankees hit him well. So we'll see who we get, but I do like that bet. That is a good game to go. I will call out the other the other interesting matchup pertaining to you and me as well is both of our Cy Young predictions are going up in Game 3 with Cole and Berrios dueling it. Berrios did not have a good start to the season. Some would argue Cole didn't either, but that'll be an interesting one too. They're two aces of the team.
Yep, and you can follow along with the bets that we're making and the picks that we're making all season with WynnBET. The WynnBET is now live in Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, which is where I reside and Scott was once from as a young lad, Tennessee, and Virginia. Go to wynnbet.com to start winning, or you can download the app and use code BlueWire. Any other thoughts? I know there might be a little surprise drunk Scott late tonight after the game, but
we'll see.
Any
we
other
can only
thoughts
hope.
from the weekend?
Yeah, we can only hope. Look, we won the series, so no matter what, that's a fact. That is a fact. We won the series, and that's the name of the game. If you can go through this long season of 162 and you can win series, then you're going to put yourself in a good spot to be in a good place at the end of the year and have some confidence and feel good about it. So the fact that we're taking the series from the Boston Red Sox, a division rival, first series of the season, feeling good about it. Feeling good.
I did want to say two more things. Housekeeping items. The podcast is on YouTube. We've said it in the last couple episodes. Go check us out on YouTube. I know some people are happy to see our faces as we're talking if they've been listening for years, so go check it out. And I want to bring mailbags back. We didn't do mailbags all off season. I think because we got basically the same mailbag over and over again just about like the lockout, and I was like, I don't need to read this.
Not a lot to mailbag about when there's no baseball and no off season.
Mailbags are always one of my favorite parts of the show. So
it's funny because both of our favorite parts of the show are when other people are contributing to the show. I love hearing other Yankee fans, their opinions or questions or thoughts or just complete drunk rants. The drunk rants.
Sometimes mailbags come in and I'm like, I legitimately never thought of that, and that's fun. And even if I think it's a stupid idea, I'll still talk about it. So
we're just two idiots talking about the Yankees, as we see it. So.
Go to bronxpinstripes.com/podcast if you want to submit it through the website, or feel free to DM it to @YankeesPodcast. Those DMs are open, and we will read your mailbag on the next Monday show. We're going to do those on Monday. All right. Thanks, guys, for listening.